We have Grant Thorton here tonight to speak to us, so please help me in welcoming them.
Thank you. I'll start talking before I get there. Long one. So, good evening, and welcome everybody. I'm glad you guys could make it. My name is Omar Yassin. I'm an audit senior manager with Grant Thorton. And the reason I'm here is we're going to talk and discuss two presentations. And Caitlin here, we're talking about two, right? Not just one?
Yep.
Okay. Good. So the first one is leadership through integrity, and the second one's going to be regarding internship and how to master an internship. So that's, let's start with the integrity now, and that's me, title. Apologize, I didn't update, this is an old picture of me, so thank God, it worked. Didn't know how you guys are gonna react, so good. We're waiting. So on our agenda, we really have 4 bullet points we're gonna touch on. How to raise your awareness about how integrity is gonna play a role in your success as a leader. How to get help when you are facing an ethical decision or situation. How to develop your leadership potential, and how to obtain the integrity potential or advantage. Just a quick back, what I plan on doing is going through the first and second presentation, and then we'll open it up for discussion and questions. That makes it much easier to get through because we don't really have a lot of time. Okay, a couple of definitions first of all. Integrity is defined as firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values. As for ethics, the discipline dealing with what is good and bad, and with moral duty and obligation. Now the second definition is, I bet, what is we're all familiar with, and this is just a set of moral principles or values. And as simple as this might seem, it's really not that easy. It's really complicated if you think about it. I mean, can someone tell me why this is complicated? This is not an easy statement. There's really no unified set of standards, right? I mean, what makes sense to you doesn't make sense to him. What's moral to you might not be moral to someone else. It depends on culture, environment, experience. I mean, it's just so vast, and it's so, you're going to hear me talk about the gray. There's a lot of gray, right? And so we'll get through this on the following slide. So let's see, what is ethics? So like we kind of, the definition is it's a combination of values, attitudes, and interests. It's concerned with actual or potential harm to an individual or a group, and it tries to determine what are and not reasonable standards for moral conduct. This is kind of similar to the first statement that is really, it's kind of iffy, right? And the way I kind of link this in my head is that if you think of this group, and if you were to ask one question, I bet you're going to have not only, well, let's make it easier for 2 answers only. Go to war, not go to war. I bet you're going to have 2 distinct groups. Some are going to say yes, others are going to say no, and they can build a case based on their beliefs and values to support why it's a yay or a nay. There's not a right or wrong answer here. We're operating in what's called the gray, right? I mean, it's not like a black and white situation. It's like, yep. See, unfortunately, this is real life, right? Okay, here's some funny questions. So a friend invites you to play bingo and pays for your card. You win $300. Do you share some of your winnings? Anyone? Yeah. There's depends, there's yay, there's no. Right? I mean, there's no right or wrong question, answer here, right? I mean, Now the next one's probably much easier. At least I hope so. So in the parking lot, you accidentally dent someone's car. Do you even know? And you see, so now we're like, yeah, I can see it. it's not that difficult to assess what we're talking about. Yeah, I like this one actually. So you've been attending classes all year, you're doing hard work, you're writing comments, notes, whatever, and then someone shows up like, oh, you're with me in the class, and they're asking for your notes. Would you give them your notes? I mean, you're not gonna lose anything, right? It's not like, but still, some would say no, heck no, others would say, yeah, sure, why not? And the last one is, I bet you guys have come across this before. I'm not gonna ask what you did. But again, it's about, are you able to assess and determine this situation? Is it, black and white or gray? Let's put it that way, right? It's black and white, there's no gray. So now, what is business ethics? We talked about ethics, values, morals, black and white and gray, but then now we're in business world. So what is business ethics? It's really the basis and basics of how we do business. It's the way we apply, and hopefully you can be able to relate to this, your own personal values and beliefs in your professional life. You can't really separate these when we're talking about ethics. And in a healthy environment, if you created an environment where the tone at the top is clear, there's ethics, everybody is clear about what needs to be done, how to deal with ethical issues, moral issues, you're gonna create this healthy environment where employees are satisfied, they're happy, they feel proud, they're working for this institution. And the reason I mentioned the tone at the top, because I mean, there's so many examples of real life examples where the CEOs and CFOs and the C-suite folks, they've been doing something wrong on purpose. And can someone give me an example? Something happened, I think it was last year. It was in the news all over the place. Madoff, you guys heard of Madoff? He built an empire. Ponzi scheme. So what are the few misconceptions about ethics? An ethical dilemma will typically have a right or wrong answer. What do you say? He's like, no. Yes, no. Ethical organizations often have difficulty competing long-term. So ethical organizations have difficulty competing long-term. So if you think about it, yeah, exactly, it's a no. Unethical organizations can make a buck or two on the short run, but then it's gonna fall apart, gonna go down the drain. That's it. But when you're doing business with ethics, and you're doing the right thing, you're earning the client's trust. You've probably heard of a trusted advisor. That's what all CPA firms or accounting firms, we try to advertise and preach about and groom our kids. It's really, we want to be their trusted advisor. Well, how in the world can you achieve this if you're running a Ponzi scheme? Business ethics is mainly about compliance with laws and regulations. Yeah, that's a no. Reasonable people will usually agree about the proper cause of action in a specific ethical dilemma. Go back to the war example. No way you're gonna find it. It doesn't work this way. Too bad. Okay. So, I'm not sure if any of you have attended a planning meeting for an audit. We always talk about, and there's a specific section carved out from this meeting to talk about fraud. How could fraud make it in a material manner to the financial statements? And so we always talk about the fraud triangle, and there are three components. You have incentive, opportunity, and rationalization. So what prevents people from behaving ethically? Well, everybody does it, right? Everybody does it. Why can't I do it? I didn't know it's firm policy. You can come up with ton of examples where one way or another we probably said, we've used one of these ourselves. I'm guilty. Like, well, John is doing it. Heck, why not? Rationalizing unethical behavior. Going back to business ethics, it's really about recognizing these situations. And what we've talked about is the gray and the black and white. We said, well, it's easy to spot a black and white situation. You can assess it, but with the gray, it's really difficult. But like, if you look at the bottom of the slide, it says it's ultimately up to you to see, to spot it. And you have to be aware of what's happening. Mostly we're talking about, you being in a position, working at a company, whether an accounting firm or not. But you need to be aware of what's happening, how things are being done. If someone tells you, well, hey, here's a journal entry, book it, with no support, which we see this a lot, but it shouldn't happen. It doesn't work this way. So we touched on the gray and whatnot. I'm going to give you an example on this. I think some of the grants folks know who I'm going to talk about, so I'm not going to mention the name. It was an A1, a first-year associate, working on a client. He was working on some spreadsheet, and he's like, the support doesn't match this at all, whatsoever. He goes to the controller, and the controller looks at him, red, face turns red. He was like, start mumbling. He's like, let's go talk to the CFO. They go and talk to the CFO, and the CFO's like, how did he get it? Oh, it was an accident. He opens the drawer, pulls a white envelope, right on the table. He's like, here you go. We're all adults. We're all professionals. Let's pretend this never happened. And you can imagine the A1's like, maybe for a second job, I don't know what it was, but he was like freaking out. And he was like, when I talked to him, he was like, if there was an open window, I would have jumped. And as he was about to walk backwards, slowly walk backwards, the audit manager opens the door and everybody starts laughing. That was a prank. Now imagine what would have happened had he picked up the envelope. He would have lost his job, damaged his reputation forever, and most importantly, this person is now a partner in our office. He's a partner. He would have had a totally different career than his if. And so, look at the very first bullet. Reputation can be lost in a moment. You lose it. We're done. Employees don't trust a leader who demonstrates lack of integrity. And I think you all can relate to this one way or another, right? How can you trust your supervisor if you know that he, she are, right? You're going to get this fuzzy feeling about it. There's no trust. You can make a quick buck, yeah, like we said, but then on the long run, you're going to lose. And the last bullet point is one of my favorite. Pursuit of integrity brings out our best selves. A couple of quotes in here. I'm not going to read it for you. I know you can't read. Maybe a quick moment on this. Hopefully you're done. Okay, integrity characteristics. I mean, don't think that this is the inclusive list and if there's something else, it's like, oh, I'm not an academic. It's just, what most common people and books have. So you know that the little things count, right? And this really matters when you work for a public company or a CPA firm. Because, a small pat on the back for a really good job, for us, it means a lot. It's like, wow, the partner said, good job. You find the white when others see gray. You mess up, you take responsibility, own it. It's your problem, you made it. We're not kids like, you didn't, own it. It's not wrong, it's okay. We learn from our mistakes. We create a culture of trust. You keep your word, you care about the greater good, you're honest, act like you're being watched, then you're employed, right? A lot of times like, no one's here. What the heck, right? You hire integrity. I bet you guys have been through interviews, behavioral, and one of the things we're trying to touch on, every interviewer is, ethical behavior, values, that kind of attributes. And you stay focused. Leadership through integrity. So this is really kind of what I talked about with the Madoff example, how this person, he built an empire, billions of dollars, thousands of people invested in his company, and now he's backwards. He knew what he was doing all along. If I were to bet, I bet that all of his employees knew what they were into, because there's no way you can hide that kind of honesty. And what happened? Everything fell apart. People lost their savings, and we end up in jail. At least we hope so. So again, it's really the tone at the top, and in our conversations with audit committee members, board of directors of companies, one of the questions that we ask them in the planning phases when we meet with them is, what are your views on fraud? Do you think that you have enough controls and processes in place to catch fraud? How do you deal with unethical behavior? Who reports to what, and how does it work? And you'll see in most companies, it doesn't have to be a large company. I mean, most companies do have processes in place. Whether you go and talk to HR or you talk to a supervisor, there's always something in place. And all public companies have to have a hotline. And we actually, most audit firms, provide this service for free to our customers, to our clients. Like, hey, you can, put this on your intranet. Your employees can contact us directly, and we'll forward it to someone in your organization. If they don't want to go and talk to their HR person or something, they have to have this. So, what's the best part about integrity? You can take it wherever you go. But why? Why? Have you guys read a book called The Moral Compass? I think it's by William Bennett, I'm not sure. I read it maybe 4 years ago. It's a really, really good book, easy read. It kind of opened my mind about a lot of things. So he's saying that we all are born, or we're born with a moral compass inside of us. It's very similar to the compass, The only difference is this compass, no matter how you turn, it's still going to point to the north that way. I'm assuming this. You go that way, it's going to say north, right? It doesn't change direction. But your moral compass changes. Because we change. Yeah. Because we change. That's one. Two, because we shape it. The environment we live in, the community we live in, our experiences, personal, professional, everything shapes this compass. And then you develop this moral compass, if you will. It's like, it's great. Makes sense this way, doesn't make sense that way. That's how you shape it. You might find it surprising, but even criminals have a moral compass. although theirs says, should I seal this? Oh, yeah, let's go for it. And yours is like, no, don't do that. It's just different directions. So, how do we get it? And don't tell me Starbucks is offering buy one, get one free. 'Cause I tried, they don't do it. So, you're faced this situation, whatever the ethical situation is. First of all, take time out. Step back and think about it. I think this process is valid for any kind of situation, even in our audits. You're racking our brains, it's not working. And then it's like, go out, take a coffee break, something, think about it. Where do I stand from all this, right? And then the next step, someone would like to share thoughts. What could be the next step? Call someone you know, right? Hey, Mark, what do you think? Get a second opinion, get a third opinion. We're operating in the gray, and trust me, none of these smiley faces or bags, they gotta know the answer. They're just gonna give you what they think, and you might end up with 4 different answers, but at least you're getting a different view, a different perspective that you hadn't thought about. Evaluate the environment or the situation you're in by answering those 10 integrity characteristics. Hopefully that will help you get one step closer. And finally, still not me in the picture. Start a revolution. I read this word, revolution, I'm like, oh my God, we don't want people now in the streets. No. What we're talking about here is really simple. And this is something that we in our firm talked about 3 weeks ago, actually, which, it starts here, it starts now. So we all have, or we know of, whether behaviors or issues or things that we would like to change in ourselves, right? I can count, I don't know how many. Really, we're just encouraging you to pick 1 or 2 maybe. 2 goals. Don't reach for the moon, just be reasonable, right? Something that is manageable, attainable, and say, you know what? I see this too often. I want to fix it. And take some time, a couple of weeks, try and work on it. And then a few months later, you're going to look back and you're like, oh my, I've made a huge improvement. And then you can pick another 2. Hopefully, by then, you would have fixed all of your issues. I'm kidding, you won't. But it's really just like this, drawing this line in the sense saying, I want to make a change. I want to change for the better. My favorite basketball player, and I was shocked that he had something that impressive to say. Well, I mean in a bad way. It's really about success isn't something you can chase. You can run around or go in circles. Doesn't matter. You have to work hard. I know you probably heard this, get zillions times from your parents or your faculty members or friends. It's the truth. We really have to work hard. You work hard, it will pay off. Might not pay off tomorrow or the day after or the following week. I know, we all get it. But it will pay off. And you know what, if some people would like, no, it's not working, John got it, let's say it's a promotion. So you can sit in the corner, cry, and point fingers, or you can say, you know what, I don't care. Personally, I'm satisfied. I'm going to keep on working, and I'm going to get there. And I bet you will get there. Leaders with integrity sleep well. And no, not because of sleeping pills. I know. Someone is thinking about it. No. Well, I mean, if you have a clear conscience, no bad, kind of idea is going to hunt you down while you're sleeping. That's kind of the idea behind it, right? exceed those values. And that's the conclusion of the first presentation. Not doing too well on time, so let me start the second one real quick, and then we will open it up for discussion. Okay. That's something you guys are all looking for. Either you've been through one, or you're gonna go through one, hopefully, in the near future. So let's start. Again, my name, title, again, my old picture. And so we have 3 points on this agenda to talk about. What kind of internships there are, right? What they expect, and how to maximize and get the best out of this internship. So on the first one, can someone tell me how many types of internships there are? Are there? 1, 2, 3, 5. Oh yeah, good. What's the first one?
Tax,
Yeah,
audit,
yeah.
and environmental.
If I had a Hershey kiss, I'll give you one. That's what I do when I train, our local regional folks. I have this big Hershey kiss. But I have such a bad aim. I think I somehow, I was a happy clicker. I clicked a couple of slides, and I'm not sure how this one goes back. So let's see.
Do you want me to get it back?
No, actually, I just skipped one, which doesn't matter. Irrelevant. Thank you. Let's see. So the first one is audit internships, and I think it's the first because I'm an audit guy, so I thought I'd start with audit, and then I go to tax and advisory. So really, it's about developing blah blah blah, but it's really understanding the business your client is operating in, the market, the industry they operate in. And then once you have this global understanding, if you will, then you go one level down and understand what kind of processes they have in place to manage their business. And I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible, but it's not that simple, but so you understand how things flow, the cycle of inventory, let's say, or revenues and all that kind of stuff. So you understand all of this, and the easy way to understand all of this is, we get those memos from the client saying, that's how we go about our business. And then you read it. Most of the time it makes sense. So, and then you will be working on audit sections. We probably should have had another misconception about internships in here, like, give me coffee, or hey, how about a dozen of donuts or something. Now, we might play a prank on you and say, hey, why don't we wash my car? But no, you will be working on sections, audit section cycles. An intern is not any different than a staff person that is working full-time for any CPA firm. It's just called internship because you're there for a couple months. That's all. And so you're going to work on cash, maybe a little bit of fixed assets, expenses, and most of the time these are not the critical sections, so you're going to start, building up. But this is not set in stone. Former alum, what's his name? Max Hewitt. On his first engagement, first job, he had to work on revenues. And he was like, oh my God, what happened to the cash section and expense? And we're like, deal with it, baby. Roll his sleeves and start cranking. He did a fantastic job. It took a while, and he needed to understand how it works. But it's fine, right? You might be asked to do some research on technical matters. You go to the tools that we use where we have, all the ASCs, the topics, the guidance literature, and you start researching this. How do we account for this? How do we do that? And then you come up with, I'm not going to say you're going to come up with a conclusion depending on the complexity of the issue, but it's something that we'd like you to do so you can go and explore how to do this. Review and track financial information, and you will interact with the client. That's for sure. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go and talk to the CFO or the CEO of the company, but you will definitely talk to the accountants, your contact person, the controller, doesn't matter. Whomever is your contact person. And you will be on site 70 to 80% of the time of your internship, if not more. Tax internship, on the other hand, is a little different. So they're going to be working on preparing tax returns. They might be inputting data in the tool, in the software the firm uses to produce these reports. They might be asked to do some research, you know. And of course, the majority of their time, they will be in the office. I think it's minimal to hardly ever contact with a client.
They have contact with the client.
They do?
They do.
Good. I didn't think so, but because.
Not unsupervised, but.
Yeah. Good. BAS, or Business Advisory, it's very similar to the audit internship in the sense that you're out most of the time at client sites, traveling, doing whatever that needs to be done. Some of the projects you'll be working on could be audit, actually. You could be pulled to help out an audit team. There's a lot of overlap. And it's similar to understanding the business of the company. They understand the processes and the systems the company uses, the GL systems, accounting, whatever the case might be, and the IT environment and how it operates, and try and figure out if it's, you know, designed effectively or not, if there are any issues or not, and that kind of stuff. So, what to expect? Anyone want to take a stab at this? What to expect going to, if you're an intern? Yeah, go.
We'll learn a lot. Definitely. learn a
Bingo.
lot.
Here's one. Catch you. Yeah, you will learn a lot. That is for sure. So you will have a lot of training. That's for sure. You'll have, you know, the service line training, you know, and you'll have the on-the-job training, which to me it is the real training, if you will. Because you're sitting there, you have the in charge or the senior, you have the manager, they're talking to you, working with you, trying to, you know, and explaining to you how and why. And that's what's really critical. Versus at a local training or a national training, they just really try to hit on major topics, but they don't have enough time to dive into the details. So at least it's just, if you come across something like this, you have a red flag in your head and then you try to pursue it. Get back to the community. One of the things I think you talked about JA in a day, right? We actually 3 months ago, we were there at Cesar Chavez and helped out. It was a great experience. If you can, do it. It's a lot of work, by the way. So if you're doing an internship, most audit firms do have that kind of programs going around. So you will, one way or another, participate and give back to the community. Hone your leadership skills, network within the firm, and have fun. Now you're gonna say, really, have fun? Like, yeah, no, we're being tagged. So I'm not gonna mention this. Yesterday we were working, it was about 7 p.m. It's like the team's like, ugh. The client's gone, there's no one in the audit room, so the staff shuts the door. She turns the laptop and cranks up the volume. And there's this weird song I've never heard. It's, what is it called? What Does the Fox Say? You guys have heard it? There you go. And I'm starting listening, and sure enough, like, it's about what the fox says. And they start to think of ways of a fox speaking. I mean, it's so, it's a Norwegian band, what do you think? I mean, and so, but it was, I started laughing. I literally started laughing, and I think it's 3 minutes and a half or 4 minutes, and we watched the whole thing, and I was just laughing. I'm like, wow. So, yeah, we do have fun every now and then, but don't tell the partner, you guys. Okay, getting up to speed. This is not really rocket science, you know. You're coming to this company, you don't know everybody or hardly anyone, and so there will be documentation, these are the firm policies. God, it's gonna be a book, so you're not expected to go through the whole thing or understand the whole thing. But, I mean, they will explain the major policies that the firm has, whichever firm this be. Structured training, like I said, on-the-job training, you're gonna be introduced to a buddy, a coach, and a mentor. They will be working with you, not in the field so much, but, off the field, if you will. They'll have lunches with you, coffees, whatever. Hey, what's going on? How are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Kind of try to help you out if you need that kind of support. And getting scheduled, and of course, heading out to the field. So when you're in the field, see this very first bullet, I really hope that it happens 100% of the time, but don't hold me against my word, but it should happen. I mean, there's no way in my mind that you're gonna go to the field and someone's gonna say, here you go, and follow last year's work. And the reason I say this is because I've heard this before. Follow last year's work. Okay. I mean, come on. It doesn't happen that often, but I want you to be aware. In case this happened, regardless of the firm, red flag, talk to someone else. Hey, I need help. Because we are supposed to sit down with you and explain to you the section you're assigned, the number of hours we've budgeted, and what are the risks associated with this section. And you'll have the whole module with the procedures that you have to perform, and we'll go from there. Now, last year's work papers could be used as a reference. Oh yeah, it looks this way, not that way. Fine. But you can't just go and say, oh yeah, hold on, I'm gonna write this down. Doesn't work. Communication with teamwork is key. We're gonna touch on this later on. What's your grammar and spelling? As much as you think that this is a silly point, it's not. And sometimes we catch so much, I stop reviewing, I'm like, take it back, clean the comments. And I'm not talking about an intern, I'm talking about a staff, a senior could be, I mean, they're just, crunching. Take your time and don't try and avoid those mistakes. If we don't catch them, and this job gets selected for a peer review, practice review, or a PCOB review, or God knows what kind of review, and they find it, they're gonna write it. Oh yeah, it's ready to go there. I'm like, okay, I mean, it's there, it's a comment. Now, it's not gonna make the audit substandard, but, as a reviewer, and I've done those practice reviews before, well, yeah, but did you really review it, John? Yeah, so be aware of this. Networking events, yeah. You're gonna have to attend those. I mean, I bet you guys would love to attend those. It's a lot of fun, whether it's through a happy hour or something in the office. Or, there's a variety of ways to do it. And you're gonna get a review. Now, this depends on the firm you're gonna work for, but different firms have different policies. Some of them will say, hey, at the end of every engagement, you're gonna get a review. Some would say maybe once a quarter. I don't know. But you'll get a review. And don't take it personal. You're going to have key strengths and weaknesses or development type comments. Constructive criticism. Right? It's okay. It is what it is. I mean, we're not going to give you this piece of paper saying, bad boy or bad girl. No. It's just, hey, learn, understand why it happened, and let's move forward. So, I think I clicked, yeah, I did, good. Skills for success. I wanted to say name 2 skills, but I'm going to give you the first answer. All right. Organizational skills. You'll know why in a second. Okay. So, organizational skills. All right. Punctuality and dress appearance. Another skill is communication. Another one is punctuality and dress appearance. Another one is good analytical skills and problem-solving capabilities. Punctuality, dress, appearance. That's the third time. An open mind about flexibility, because our work is really, flexible. Things can change, schedules can change, so we need to be flexible. For the last time, punctuality, dress, appearance. I can't tell you how many times this one person showed up at 9. The whole team was there. It was like half day for them. They've been in the field. It was like, yeah, had a flat tire. Next day, he had a flat car. Third day, he had a flat soda. I don't know. There was always a flat something. Come on. Want to work or what? And so, yeah, enough of punctuality, dress, appearance. This is really, really key. You know your senior is going to be there at 8. I used to be there at 7:45. Okay, I'm here working. Are you taking notes? It really helps, because then they're like, I can rely on this person, he or she, they're committed, right? Maximizing the interaction. Let's see. Good morning, sunshine. Yeah, I like this section. Good morning, sunshine, right? Hopefully the faculty members would appreciate this comment, but don't roll out of bed and go to work as if you're going to class. Dress properly, right? And I'm not saying tie and a suit and whatnot, but it all depends on what your client's dress code is about. I have clients that have professional dress code. I have to go suit up every day. I have others that can't remember the name, it's not Broomfield, somewhere. I go in jeans because the CEO wears jeans. I'll know the job. I go in jeans. And so it depends on what is the environment you're working in. Oh yeah. Be punctual, right? Good morning, sunshine. Be punctual. I just want to link this together. Be alert and engaged. We come back from lunch, and Grant sits on his chair, and I kid you not, he starts snoring. He was sleeping. So we start talking out loud on purpose. There were 8 of us in this audit room. No windows, no, it's like a dungeon. Grant is snoring. It was his first year, first engagement. So I grabbed the chair, I was like, shook it, you look down, it's like, oh, did I sleep? I'm like, no, you just woke up our neighbors. Come on, really? Sleeping? Let alone be engaged, right? To be alert, engaged, we're working. I'm not giving you a joke. It happened with me. This is a real life example. Pick up the phone. So most of us, it's like, I want to ask the controller something. I'm going to send him an email here. He or she, they're like right there. If you don't want to pick up the phone and call them, walk. That's what I like to do, walk. Well, not only it's healthy, but remember the example about the associate that made partner now? He saw the controller's face turn red. How are you going to notice this over the phone or via email? In person. Always be prepared. This is a valid point, but I think this is, back in the day, most firms were used, the pad and paper to do their audits. These days, everything is paperless, so, they used to show up with no pads, no pencils. So, can I borrow your pen? Like, really? You went through a week of orientation. Every firm has an Office Depot somewhere in their office, and you didn't grab a pen or pencil. Come on. But again, I don't think this is valid these days. Understand the family tree. You have firms that are flat or horizontal structure, others are vertical, in the sense that if it's vertical, there's a chain of command, and if you have an issue you want to talk about, you can go this level, you can go to this level, you go up this way. And you have the horizontal structure where it's like an open door policy type thing, where it's like, hey, I feel talking to Jim, I'm gonna talk to Jim versus Kelly, which Kelly, let's say, is my coach. Just be aware of all this, and all this will be explained to you in your orientation, so it shouldn't be like, oh, where do I find this information? Be a sponge, not SpongeBob, be a sponge. You're gonna be working in an environment with professionals, really smart people, know what they're doing. And so the more you can grasp, learn, it's priceless. You're gonna end up your internship with a wealth of knowledge. I guarantee you. You just need to be willing and be alert and engaged. Communicate upwards. It's really about, you're in the field, you're trying to work. I'm looking kind of last year's work paper as a reference, but don't spin your wheels. If you don't think you're getting anywhere, hey, how do I do this? And I think in another slide, we say ask questions. You're expected to ask questions. I mean, when I go to the field and I know that Jane is our intern, I'm like, first thing I ask my senior, is she asking questions? And if the answer is no, then I start, feeling concerned. Because it doesn't make sense. I mean, she could be a genius. Yeah. But you're expected to ask questions. Don't feel afraid, just ask the question. Free of charge, by the way. Here we go. Ask a lot of questions. Be proactive. Ask for work. Ask for it. If you don't ask for it, not like you're not gonna get work, but that's what we want to see. This person is interested. It's not like, no, give me stuff to work on. If there's an event, a volunteering event, or a firm event, whatever the case might be, clear it with your manager and senior, and attend if you can. This will really help you in your professional career. Learn how to listen. If I can teach this skill to my 3-year-old daughter, I'd be in heaven now. It's tough. And it's more difficult when you have someone, the guy with the flat tire all the time. I had to intervene and talk to him about something. And I could see it in his eyes. He's waiting for me to finish so he can respond. He wasn't even listening to what I had to say. Learn how to listen. Just sit down, calm down. We're not competing. We're not going to beat ourselves. It's just professional conversation. No, touch on this. Nothing personal, right? Nothing personal. We learn from our mistakes. We do better next time. That's it. It's a big world. An easy example, like I work in the banking, financial institutions industry a lot, and so I always like to read those articles in this industry. So anytime I'm at my client, I kind of use some kind of those references. Like I know what's going on in the industry. They really, really appreciate it. They're like, this guy knows what we're dealing with. Instead of saying, oh yeah, I don't know. So in the manufacturing world, he's a banker. Doesn't work. It's 5 somewhere. Yes, I know that. I wish I could be there, but we have a deadline, right? We're committed to get it done. You'll have the 5 o'clock happy hour later on. Trust me. We all have those. Don't start looking at your clock. Oh, everybody's still here. No, it's not going to get you anywhere. If any, you're not going to get an offer probably. Eyes on the goal. The end is in sight. Seriously, it is, because we have a deadline. You're going to hit it one way or another. Yeah, sometimes you might have to extend for a day or two, but most of the time you're going to hit the deadline. So ride the storm. It'll be over. See the big picture. It might be difficult for you because you're working on a small section here and then another section here. This is not just you, even staff, when they're working on a job the whole time, they might have difficulty seeing the whole picture. But attending those like status meetings will give you a flavor as to what are the various other components going on and what's open and what's getting wrapped up. This will come with experience, trust me. Do it big or go home. It's not a competition. We talked about this. You're not gonna get, it's like, hey, I'm gonna throw this under the bus so I can make it. It's a teamwork. We won't be able to hit the deadline if we don't work as a team. It's really about working together. This is your career element. It is. And I tell you, with audit, I'm not gonna speak for tax or advisory, it's really easy to figure it out. Where it's something I can do or something I can't do, don't want to do. It's simple, because you go there, you start doing it, and most likely than not, you're gonna say, yeah, or you're gonna say, I'm out of here. That's not gonna work for me. But if you do like it, trust me, it will pay off. Professionally, financially, I don't know, psychologically, but it's great. It's a great career, very, very challenging, very interesting career. Oh, we're done. So, any questions about the internship or the ethics presentations that I've covered? And I apologize if I was running a little too fast, but I knew I don't have a whole lot of time. Yes, Liz.
How many ethical issues do you come across when you're doing an audit?
Good question. Well, we don't come across this a lot. Unfortunately for me, I've seen it too many times, and there's fraud involved, whether it's the controller, the AP manager, or the CEO. And when this is uncovered, you go through all the technical resources you have in the firm, all the partners involved with this. And there should be a law firm involved. They have to go in and start doing the work. Now, the law firm is engaged by the company, by the client. And then you have your forensic group getting in, reviewing the work of the attorneys, if the scope of the review or investigation is adequate or not. It's a long, tedious, not so fun process. And I tell you, on one of my engagements, we ended up not getting comfortable, and we resigned from the audit. And it was multi-million-dollar audit. It was like, we don't care. We're not doing it. Our reputation is a whole lot more important than a couple $1 million. So it happens. Yes.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. You mentioned community service and that, so I want to inform you that this group pretty well understands the giving back to the community. At the annual meeting in August of Beta Alpha Psi International, our chapter was picked as one of the 12 gold chapters internationally out of about 250 chapters. And the students that put together the video, Kara and Jake, they turned ours in on a per student basis. As they did research, they found we were doing as many community service hours and professional hours as chapters 2 and 3 times as large as we were. We averaged both professional and service right around 20 hours per member.
Wow.
So
I applaud you guys. That's really great. I mean, good for you. Any more questions? Internships? Yeah.
When you run into ethical dilemmas, is it something that you just prolong the audit, or are you working on multiple things that?
You will have to stop, well, not stop, but it will prolong the audit, because you're gonna have doubts and questions about what you have missed. Keep in mind, an audit is on a sample basis. We don't test 100%, right? We sample. And so, if there are doubts that there's fraud in some area, then there's a big question about the whole population that that is in question. This will be aside from the investigation that will be ongoing by the attorneys. Yeah. Yeah.
So once you find an ethical issue or fraud or something in a business, and if you don't resign and you continue on with the audit, do you continue to be their audit, following it, or do you stop doing business?
Yeah, there's
with them?
nothing preventing. So here's the thing. Another example, the AP manager was doing something wrong, cutting checks to herself, paying rent and whatnot. And management discovered it. They informed us because they have to tell us. We told them, you know, hey, we expect you to engage an attorney. They did this. We reviewed their work, and we tested their work. The attorneys, because they had to look at samples and samples of invoices and checks, and we actually grabbed all this and started the testing ourselves. At the end, we were comfortable that this is the fraud. It was like, we were able to quantify it, if you will. So we've dealt with it, we've issued our report, we're pleased with it, with the work, everything is good. And then next year, we just do the audit again. There's nothing preventing us from doing the audit. If any, actually, we have more confidence that management and senior management did the right thing. They discovered it, they dealt with it, terminated the employee, and they didn't pursue legal because it costs more to go through the court system that's like, whatever. But yeah, no issues whatsoever. I'm sorry, yeah.
If you find fraud, you identify it, do you have to make a mention of it in the statements? Or?
Not unless it was material enough that we have to qualify our opinion. Otherwise, it should be okay.
As long as it's handled and it's
Well, as
not-
long as it's handled, quantified, and it was accounted for properly, then.
Okay.
That was my question. Good.
What would you say is the hardest thing for new interns to adapt to when starting their internship?
I don't think it's the hours. I think it's getting used and getting used to the tools that we use. Well, every audit firm has a tool that they use, right? Whether it's called X or Y or Z. And everything is paperless 99% of the time. So just to know how to navigate this tool and embed work papers in, it could get tricky sometimes. So I think that's about it. Another aspect is probably you go and ask the controller a question and they're like, unfortunately, it's reality. They're like, oh, we know that so-and-so is staff or an intern. So they give you this half an answer, let's say. And so you go to the auditor, and it's like, well, document, and then it gets reviewed by the senior or the manager, like, well, that doesn't make sense. And then you have to go back again. Well, but this doesn't make sense because X, Y, Z. Oh, yeah, let me give you this. And really, the only reason they've done it is because they're really busy. They're like, I'll just give them whatever answer for now, let it roll with it, and they'll buy me a couple of days. It's just frustrating. Well, why didn't you give it to me for the first time? But, and I like your question. Grants, folks, anything from your view that you think an intern, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you guys deal more? Or do you think that's
just asking questions. Because you're doing something that you haven't done before. And kind of like Omar said, we expect everybody to ask questions. We know that you haven't done it before, that's why you're there. But sometimes just going into something like that where you don't know what to expect, for how your day will unfold, and you don't know maybe what exactly you're going to be doing or who you're going to be meeting with until mid-morning. So just asking questions and being flexible, but asking questions and making sure that you're doing what someone thinks you should be doing.
so not, spinning your wheels like, I'll deal with this later on.
And may I add for a tax internship, because we will have them working on multiple engagements, different type of entities, they have to have that flexibility of being able to put something down and picking something else up, having that quick switch. We will try not to overwhelm you, but you will work on multiple engagements at one time, and you're going to have to manage your senior and say, somebody asked me to do this, and you're asking me to do this, what do I do? You don't tell either one, I can't do your work. You let them work it out.
Yeah, that's key, actually. It's not only for interns or associates, it's also for seniors. You have a manager pulling the senior to do this work, but hey, I'm scheduled on this. And so we're like, don't just, even if I'm doing it to you, God forbid, but raise it up, hey, John, Craig, talk to each other, figure it out, you guys, just tell me which way to go, and I'm more than happy to, right? Yeah, thank you, yeah. Monica.
Can I ask, what was your first on-site client experience?
My first? Oh, that was 12-ish years ago, maybe 13. I was sent to LaGrange, Texas. I started in the Dallas office in 2001. And so they sent me to LaGrange, Texas, and I was like, I have no idea where this city is. It's in the middle of nowhere. And it was tough because, you go in, I don't know the people from the Houston office. I don't know the client. I was just starting, literally finished orientation and like, here off you go. And so like I said, we have the new tools that I had to use and, new people, new clients. It was not so fun, let's say, the first week. But then later on, it turned out one of the best experiences. And the senior manager on that job is now a partner, obviously, very high up in the chain. And he and I are really, really close friends just because of this job. I'm not going to tell what they did to me, the pranks they played on me. But it was fun. Yeah.
Did you do any internships before starting full-time?
I did not. My experience is a little different. I started with Greg Thornton, the Beirut office, Beirut, Lebanon. That's far away. And so finished college, went and worked with them for 2 years, and then I transferred to the Dallas office in 2001. So I didn't really go through an internship per se. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
I know a lot of firms have international opportunities. What kind of made you come to Dallas instead of staying?
Oh, pure luck. I wasn't even planning on it. It's extremely recommended, encouraged. It's like they're forcing me, not recommended, to go and take the CPA. And so that's why I came to take the test. My sister used to live in Dallas a long time ago, and so that's why I went to Texas and took it there. And she was the one, she was like, well, there's a GT office in Dallas. I'm like, yeah, I know. She was like, well, send them your resume. I'm like, come on. And she convinced me, and I sent it, and 2 days later, they called, phone interview, in-person interview, here's a contract. I'm like, where do I sign? I literally had a backpack on me, and like, I had no clothes or whatever, just for a few days, so but I'm glad I made that. Okay. I think that's about it. Thank you so much. I love the questions. I love this group. Very interactive. Makes my life much easier. Explain things. And feel free to ask any questions. Me, the team that is available, we welcome whatever feedback, comments, questions you might have. Thanks.
All right, thank you guys for coming. Don't forget about meeting the firms tomorrow, 7
You want to get out? Are you stuck?
That's all we need to find out,
Actually, I come into